out of California, with Erik Menendez being denied parole. This is his brother Lyall is set to face the parole board this morning. The convicted killer attended the nearly 10-hour-long hearing via video Thursday from a state prison in San Diego. The board saying he can be eligible for parole again in 3 years. Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson has more.
Hi, good morning. Today, Lyall Menendez set to face a parole board here at Donovan State Prison in San Diego, where he's housed. This less than 24 hours since that shocking decision by the same board about his brother's fate. Convicted killer Erik Menendez denied parole after appearing virtually for his parole hearing inside Donovan State Prison located in San Diego. This marking the first chance at freedom for the brothers, Erik and Lyall, who were resentenced in May to life with the possibility of parole. During Erik's hearing, he told the parole board, quote, "I just want my family to understand that I am so unimaginably sorry for what I have put them through." When questioned about shooting his mother and the spending sprees after the murders, he said that they were, quote, "an incredibly callous act." The parole board raised questions about behavior behind bars, including drug use, gangs, fights with other inmates, and a contraband cell phone. On Friday, his older brother Lyall will go before the same parole board.
Although this is disappointing, 2 years ago, this was not even a possibility. We gotta wake up tomorrow and do this all over again for Lyall. So wish us luck.
But ultimately, this could be in the governor's hands. Governor Gavin Newsom for the state of California can issue clemency at any point in time, but he can also reject any plan for release. That is the very latest from Donovan State Prison in San Diego. Matt Johnson, Court TV.
All right, our thanks to Matt Johnson for that report. Now let's bring in our legal eagles and talk about this. I have with me on the program today attorneys David Bruno and Rick Grundy. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Let's get your reactions to the parole board's decision. David, your thoughts, please.
No surprise here. I mean, I've been surprised this whole year with all of the litigation that has happened in this particular case. The resentencing really gave them this window that was never even possible up until the modification. And parole board's doing their job. Right. This is the board. That was a quick decision, too. None of us really thought that we were going to get that so quickly. But it's not final. It goes up to the board. It will be rubber stamped. That's typically what happens. So another 3 years for Erik. For Lyall, it's probably going to be the same thing. Although we heard in the package a lot of the infractions in the institution that was held against Erik. And I just wonder how many, if that's comparable to Lyall. But I don't expect anything different for Lyall. And I do not expect the governor to give clemency either. I think they'll be in for another 3 years at the very least.
David, thank you for that. Rick Grundy, I want to ask you for your reaction to the denial, please.
Well, I'm personally thrilled because I think the law that we're working with is abhorrent to the justice system. It turns a deaf ear to the general society, which are all victims of individuals like this, and dangerous because it puts politics over the process of the legal system that we have. I'm not surprised by this. I think it's the easy decision at this point. There's going to be blowback if they granted the pardon now. He's back up because of this bad law in just 3 years. And I think that's what they're counting on for the safe road for what is more a political decision than a legal one.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Rick, thank you. So the board raised some concerns, and David, you touched on this a bit, about some of Erik's bad behavior behind bars. So things that they were concerned about include drug use, gangs, fights with other inmates, and a contraband cell phone. To which Erik replied, quote, "Connection with the outside world was far greater than the consequences of me getting caught with the phone. And we also have DA Nathan Hochman's response to the denial. Let's look at that. He said the board correctly determined that Erik Menendez's actions speak louder than words, and that his conduct in prison and current mentality demonstrates that he still poses an unreasonable risk of danger to the community. Importantly, the board did not bow to the public spectacle or pressure, a restraint that upholds the dignity and integrity of the justice system. So I was talking about yesterday in my opening statement. I was applauding him, that DA, for not bowing to the public pressure. Let's talk about that if we can. That's hard. That is hard. You know, when you're a prosecutor and you feel like, oh, I'm getting beat up in the court of public opinion, but you know, you are held to this higher set of rules. And what matters is not what's in the public opinion, what's happening in the court of law with the facts, the evidence, all of it. Rick Grundy, would you speak to that, please?
Yeah, it's the age-old problem you have in Massachusetts. We don't have any elected judges. Our district attorneys are elected. The only other alternative is for them to be appointed. Our judges are appointed. But regardless, politics plays a huge part, whether it be in the appointment or the actual election of an individual. A DA, typically, if you make the right decision, if you follow the law, and you keep a vigilant eye on prosecutions and crime control, doing your job, in other words, you get reelected. But I definitely, every time you see a person take a stance that requires that courage in a district attorney's office, you got to applaud him, and this district attorney certainly deserves that.
Rick, thank you so much for that. For anybody who doesn't know, you've served as a supervisor, both in a county district attorney's office and then also in the attorney general's office. So thank you for that. I want to welcome in now to the conversation entertainment commentator Holland Reed. Holland, good morning to you. We were just talking about how it's so hard on the legal side of things when there's this enormous amount of pressure, and we've talked about it before, the Menendez mania, so to speak, that's gone on in Hollywood. And would you mind speaking to some of the challenges when, you know, when you're one of these advocacy groups that advocates for victims, you know, and you're a person who's always been very victim forward, victim compassionate, a victim's advocate, and you have these very loud people on the other side, you know, who are opposing this. And there's been a lot of nastiness, a lot of vitriol. I've seen it. I've experienced it for saying these guys should be denied. I'll probably get hate today for it. I don't care. Please speak to, you know, what it does for the people in the groups that are protecting victims.
Well, I think there's a huge generational shift in difference in true crime entertainment versus back in the day where you would have one or two shows or outlets that emphasize true crime stories like the O.J. Simpson trial in the 90s. And now where it is very victim forward, it is very different generation where we're very outspoken about you know, abuse in a very different way, and people are, you know, the Me Too movements and what have you. So you have a very different generational kind of like divide where back in the day it was a little bit of a harsher system, and it's like you did it, you go to jail, you pay the price. Now it's like, well, wait a minute, why did they do it? It's a lot more, I think, psychological interest in these crime stories. Although it's still Hollywood meets true crime, but everyone still loves a redemption story. Everyone still is going to gravitate, and every single time there's a twist and turn in these cases, we're going to get a new documentary. We're going to get a new angle from Hollywood. We're going to get a new show. So I think that there's that catch-22 where the advocacy groups, where they do, you know, work with victims, and there's a little bit more, I guess, in-depth coverage of why people do what they do, hurt people. And I think that's where the shift has happened in the true crime narrative, where we all are engaged on our couches watching Snapped, and we don't feel as bad for someone that stabs their husband because they raped their child and what have you. So I think that that's the difference in the shift in this case. So, yeah.
Great comments you just made there, Holland. You know, kind of dovetailing off of something you said. I've run into this, maybe you have too. You've worked in the entertainment industry for a long time. You're an actress, you're a photographer, a dancer. You've had a great career. I've noticed people, you know, that will come up to me when, as soon as somebody recognizes me or knows what I do, they want to talk about whatever case that interests them. And with this one in particular, when they'll say, but these guys were abused, and I'll say, well, the the television story said that, and I realized that that was a big part of the television series, but that was loosely based on this true story. If you talk to folks in the district attorney's office, they're saying they don't have evidence that that occurred, that there were fabrications that were done. And I run into people often that'll say, well, no, I don't believe that because I saw it on TV. Alan, how powerful do you think the media is sometimes in swaying the court of public opinion against what's actually in the court records?
It's absolutely powerful. That's the whole reason why I think the sway was the Kim Kardashian backing of their release, as well as the two Netflix series. The media plays a very huge role in determining a public's opinion on cases like this. So it's extremely powerful, and you have to be extremely careful. If they did it, they served the time, and that's what they're doing right now.